The next MCU show is already here. What's going on, guys? I'm Chris and welcome back to another video. So today I have a very special video as I'll be giving you my review of the first 2 episodes of Marvel Studios' Ms. Marvel. The first episode premieres on Disney Plus on June 8th, and I had the pleasure of watching the first 2 episodes earlier for review purposes, so I want to say thank you to Marvel and Disney Plus for giving me access to those. But before I give you guys my thoughts on these first 2 episodes, I want to give you a heads up. 0 spoilers. This is just going to be my overall thoughts on the show. And before I get any further into this video, make sure to hit that like button, comment down below your thoughts on these episodes or your expectations if you have not yet seen it, and make sure to subscribe to that notification bell as I cover Marvel a lot on the channel. So if I'm being completely honest, I was not that excited for Ms. Marvel going into it. I feel a little bit of fatigue with the MCU shows at this point. They haven't really done much for me on Disney Plus. So I went in with literally no expectations, and I came out of these first 2 episodes pleasantly surprised. Like, I actually had a pretty fun time with this show, and I'll say right out of the gate, it is a coming-of-age story, and that's something that I just like. I'm very much a fan of these hangout coming-of-age movies. I love me some Dazed and Confused, some Superbad, where a bunch of high school kids are just hanging out, and at its core, Ms. Marvel is a high school coming-of-age genre. Iman Vellani is an absolute star in the role. Like, I'm not just saying that to say it. Everyone's going to be beating you over the head with the fact that she's great, because she is. A lot of the times with some of these younger actors in Marvel or bigger projects, you might be like, you know, they could work on their acting chops here or here, but honestly, I can't even critique her performance because it's that damn good. I buy into her as this junior in high school who's going through these awkward changes in life and just trying to fit in. We all can relate to trying to find our role in high school, whether, you know, that be with a group of friends or trying to impress a certain guy or girl who we might be interested in. All these things are something that we can all relate to, and it's all perfectly portrayed by Iman Vellani in the role. Her friendship with the character Bruno is one of the highlights of this show. I feel like we all had a pretty good friend, at least one, in high school or growing up, and I could kind of resonate with that. But what really stood out to me, and one of my favorite aspects of these first 2 episodes, was the fact that this is in the MCU. This does not feel detached from the MCU like a lot of other Phase 4 projects. Kamala Khan is a massive fan of the Avengers, just like all of us. We grew up watching those Marvel movies in theaters. This is someone who actually lives in the world of the MCU and got to watch the Avengers kicking ass in person. She's a diehard Captain Marvel fan, her friend is a Tony Stark fan. They all love the Avengers, and the way the show opens and kind of acknowledges past events in the MCU is something I was a really big fan of. And because this is a show about someone who's such a big fan of Marvel heroes, I really do feel like it's something that we can all pull from. She wants to be a hero just like all of us, and we see that portrayed through these first 2 episodes pretty well. I also think the artistic style of this show is so cool. The way that it transitions between scenes, whether that be with cartoon animation or doodles, it's really fitting to the character, and it's stylistically a little bit different than some of these other MCU shows we've been getting. Now, like I mentioned earlier, it does feel like it's in the MCU because it's acknowledging MCU heroes. They even reference an Avengers con, and it's like a main plot point in the first 2 episodes. But in all honesty, this is a very small scale story for the MCU, and that's something I'm okay with. I like the Hawkeyes, you know, the Ant-Mans, the movies that are a lot more small scale. The world's not going to be ending. No one's going to be saving the world. This is not going to deal with the multiverse, and that's almost like a breath of fresh air almost right now for Marvel, because it feels like everything has to do with these different universes in this massive scale, and this is much more of a smaller scale show that I feel like is more personal about the characters, and that's something that I personally enjoyed, and it kind of took me by surprise. Now, the parts of the show that I've enjoyed the most are the character interactions, whether that be going to a high school party or trying to make change within the community, just hanging out with friends. Those are the elements of the show that I like the most, and it's also cool to see this character get some new powers and her having to deal with that. It definitely feels like Spider-Man. I know there's gonna be those comparisons made. Now, I do think it could end up falling into the trap of the 6-episode formula where it gets a little rushed in the end and they introduce a villain a little too late in the picture. That's kind of what could end up happening, and that's what a lot of the MCU Disney Plus shows unfortunately do. But I'm just enjoying the vibes of this show so far. And if you go into this not expecting anything crazy big, monumental for the MCU, I think you'll have a pretty fun time with it. Again, the performances across the board are really solid. It's got a unique little spin on it when it comes to like transitions and just keeping you engaged. The soundtrack has slapped so far. A certain song from the trailer may or may not make an appearance in this show, and I was very ecstatic to actually hear that. And again, we've all grown up, so I think we can all pull from this show. It's also a side of the MCU culturally that we have never really explored, and I like that they're starting to show us more sides of the world. Aside from just your average origin story, this feels a lot different for the MCU, and I really want to emphasize the fact that this does not have huge implications on the MCU, so when you go into this show, I would not expect it to be this groundbreaking thing. It's, again, very small scale, contained story, and that's something the MCU needs every now and then, because it needs to be balanced out. You can't have everything be a multiverse of madness. I think this show will definitely resonate with audiences across the board. In particular, I think it'll be inspirational to high school and middle school aged kids that see themselves in Miss Marvel. So I think it's going to be a show that definitely reaches a younger audience, but appeals to all audiences in general. It's a little bit cheesy at times. You know, there's certain moments where I'm like, all right, you could have done this here, but I'm pretty sure in high school or middle school, we all have those cringe moments that are like, oh, where we do something stupid or awkward. So it kind of all fits within the show. I don't think it's perfect by any means. I think it's definitely got its flaws like all the other MCU Disney Plus shows. The pacing obviously could get a little slow at times, but again, it kind of sucked me right back in. I think Iman Vellani is going to be a star moving forward in Phase 4 of the MCU, and I'm intrigued enough to tune in for episode 3, 4, 5, and 6. Will it stick the landing? Who's to say? Sometimes these MCU shows start out strong and they kind of fizzle out, so maybe this one will be the one to break that mold. But what do you guys think of the first 2 episodes of Miss Marvel? Let me know in the comments down below. What are your expectations? Make sure to hit that like button, and again, comment your thoughts on the show down below. Make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell, as I'll probably have episode reviews of this show on my TikTok, Instagram, or here on YouTube. You can follow me on all my social medias linked down below. But thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time, we'll see you guys later.